Hey, Michelle, how are you?
Good, Aubrey. So happy to be recording with you again. How are you, Aubrey?
I am great. It's a beautiful day here in Arizona. I have a question for you about
Yes,
food. I love to talk about food.
me too.
Do you like your food to be salty? Do you add salt?
Mm.
And actually, my real question is before you taste food, do you find yourself adding salt before you even taste it sometimes?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, I think I taste it before I add the salt.
That's good.
Unless I know for sure, but I have been known to I like in the morning I always have eggs, and before I try it, I always put salt on it.
Mm,
I think I do put too much salt on food.
okay.
And in fact, just the other day, I salted some mushrooms that I was sauteing, and Dan had to put them in the colander and wash the salt off
Oh, that
because
is funny.
there's a fine line between the perfect amount of salt and then you go overboard. And then there was another time when my son, we were making a soup and we were going to let him put the salt in the soup, and the top fell off and the whole salt
Oh,
fell in it. And we
no.
kept on trying to dilute it. And then Dad got a headache because he just kept on
It's like,
trying to have
no.
all the salty soup to see if he could fix
Ugh.
it. We had to throw it out.
Yeah, this is a total loss. We need to just toss it. I've
Yeah,
certainly done that. I've
exactly.
made mashed potatoes way
Yeah.
too salty accidentally. So then I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'll just make more potatoes and add them,"
Yes.
because you
Yes.
don't wanna just waste everything. Ugh.
It's true, it's true. How about you, Aubrey? Do you like your food salty?
I do. I really like savory
Me
snacks
too.
over
Oh
sweet
my gosh.
snacks,
Same.
but I really like them together too. Like, if I have popcorn, I want it with,
Ugh,
like, some kind of sweet
oof.
candy. I kind of love both, or like a Coke, like a Coca-Cola with some savory foods, because I do kind of like the combo.
So do you salt things before you try them? I'm curious
No,
because
I
you
asked you because this was my mother's pet peeve. When she would
Uh-huh.
cook for her father, my grandpa, he
Ah,
would add salt before he tasted it, and then he would sometimes be like,
ah.
"This is way too salty." It was, like, drive her crazy. He's like, "Why are you adding salt before you even taste it?"
Right, right.
Ah,
Yeah, I can see how that would be frustrating.
yes.
So, Aubrey, I'm so glad we're talking about salt today. We're going to be talking about an expression that is really, really a good one, and it deals with the word salt. What is this expression,
Yeah, it's
Aubrey?
to take something with a grain of salt. Take that with a grain of salt. This is a really fun idiom. I'm excited to dive into this today.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. So do you use this one, Aubrey? Would you say this is in your vocabulary?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I use this a lot because we're going to dive into what this means. But when you're giving advice, some people, maybe
Mhm.
if you have a little more ego or a little more confidence, then you're giving advice willy nilly without us giving any caveats. I am not that way. If I give advice, I'll be like, well, take this with a grain of salt, or
Yeah.
I'll say, like, take this for what it's worth. I'll say that too. Almost every time I give advice, I'm like, here's what
Yeah.
I think, but you do you. Do whatever you think.
You do you. I love that. So yeah, very, very good point. Willy-nilly, I love that. Guys, that will probably be one of our bonus words for
Absolutely. Yeah, if
today.
you have the app, you get all of these keywords, right? So if you don't, be sure to
Mhm.
download the app, allearsenglish.com/app, APP. We make it really easy. We highlight the really interesting keywords from every episode, and you can just add them to your vocab list.
Awesome. Love it. All right. So let's dive deeper into this. So take it with a grain of salt. So, yeah, it means don't completely believe something, don't take something to heart. It's saying that what the person is about to say or some action shouldn't be taken as 100%. You shouldn't take it too seriously. What do you think, Aubrey?
Right. Often we'll say this if we don't have any actual scientific evidence for something, it's
Yes.
just based
Yes.
on our experience or our thoughts, right? We'll often say this so that people aren't thinking that we're coming from a place of expertise, right? This is just kind of
Yes.
my thoughts. Take it or leave it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So when would we use this? So I mean, one that I can think of is before we give advice, like you were talking about, Aubrey.
Absolutely.
Advice that we're not 100% on. So I could say, so Aubrey, I'm not an expert on this, so take it with a grain of salt, but I really think you should look into getting more points on your credit card because you're missing out on benefits.
Nice. Yes, I just said this to my daughter. She's only 18. She's in a
Mhm.
relationship, and
Oh,
sometimes
wow.
she'll ask me for advice, and I'm like, take this with a grain of salt because I did not have a serious relationship that young, right? I was
Ah,
older before like I had a serious boyfriend, so I'm being really honest about the fact that I can,
yeah.
give you advice or talk from my life
Right.
experience, but I didn't actually go through what you're going through. So take it with a grain of salt.
Right, right, right. Very good. So, or what's another way that we might use it?
Yeah, you can use it to make someone feel better about something that someone else said. So, for example, oh, she can be pretty direct. Just take it with a grain of salt. It's not personal. Yeah, this is a good point because this has a slightly different meaning. It's more like, don't get offended. Don't
Right.
take it personally.
Yep.
Right. If we take it with a grain of salt, we want to not let our feelings be hurt by something.
Right, exactly. So don't take it to heart. That's something you might
Yes.
hear somebody say. Don't take it to heart. Don't like let your heart be affected by this.
Absolutely.
Um
And I think this is so with language learning. I've had to do this as I'm learning French and Spanish. Often we're realizing that what someone is saying, we can't take offense, right? We have to take it with a grain of salt. If they're correcting our grammar, maybe they're sharing that we knew an idiom,
Mm.
we like used an idiom incorrectly. This happens. I try to take that with a grain of salt and realize they're just trying to help me improve, and I'm grateful for the correction, right?
Right.
If I took it seriously, if I took it to heart, then that might really hurt my language learning because then I'm
Yeah.
worried about making mistakes. I'm worried about people criticizing me. Like, no, take it with a grain of salt. Don't worry about it.
Right, right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and it could also be used to say something shouldn't really be believed. So,
Mm.
my sister tends to exaggerate about her cooking. So, take it with a grain of salt. It's good, but not amazing.
Oh, I love that. Yes, and with language learning, right? If someone corrects your English and be like, take it with a grain of salt. You don't need to worry so much about grammar mistakes, right? We're worried more about connection.
Connection.
So, yeah, that's another place where you could give someone advice if they're feeling really down about their English learning. Be like, take it with a grain of salt. That's not
Right.
the most important thing to worry about.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Okay. So, Aubrey, do you tend to take advice or recommendations with a grain of salt, or do you like to try things for yourself instead of just believing what you hear? What do you how does
Ooh.
it work for you?
That's a really good question. I do think that I have gotten better about this. When I was younger, I would take things to heart. I would let things hurt my feelings. And I have gotten better about, recognizing that I can't change anyone's mind, but I can decide whether that affects me or not, whether that hurts my feelings,
Mm.
whether that offends me. So I think I am better at taking things with a grain of salt. I'll just let it like roll off my back and not bother me more than I used to, at least. What about you, Michelle?
I think so too. I think as I get older, I don't know. I don't get offended that easily. There are it's funny, there are some instances where I start to kind of get, "Oh, I don't know about that." And then all of a sudden it'll roll off. I'm like, "I don't
Yeah,
really
you're
care."
just gonna let it go. Yes. Whereas, when you were younger, you might have really been torn up about that, and
Right.
now it's like, "No, I'm not gonna let it bother me. There are
Yeah.
bigger fish to fry. I have
Bigger
bigger
fish to
worries."
fry. Guys, also we want to remind you to hit the follow button wherever you're listening to All Ears English or the Business English Podcast or IELTS Energy because we don't want you to miss anything. Just make it easy. Let us bring the episodes straight to your queue so you can hear them.
Absolutely. All right, let's dive into some other similar phrases that we use to say the same thing. One thing is we say, don't put too much stock in it. Don't put too much
Mhm.
stock in something. So, for example, we might say, she acts like a big New York expert, but don't put too much stock in what she says. She's really, really picky. That's funny.
Yeah, exactly. Or you could say, don't take it too seriously. Well, I'll tell you my opinion, but don't take it too seriously. I'm still learning about all this.
Yeah, or don't take it at face value. Remember not to take what he says at face value. He's been known to stretch the truth a little. Yeah,
Ooh.
this is you're just warning someone to like, don't take offense or like maybe don't believe them entirely because there might be some exaggeration here.
Right, right, exactly. So, Aubrey, should we put this together in a role play?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So here we are. We're not using all of them in this one because
This is
it
something where
would
it'd be
be
weird to say
right,
that over and over
exactly.
and
Yeah,
over. Yeah.
we just did a role play with the word actually, guys. If you didn't hear that episode yet, head on over. It was
Yeah.
episode 2421, which was with the word actually, and there we were saying it's okay to use it 100 times in a role
We're
play.
going to use
It's
it a
more
lot in
natural.
one
But
conversation.
in this one, we're not going to use all of these right now. So here we go. I am asking you for some help with a menu that I'm putting together for a dinner party.
Ooh, fun.
Okay. So do you think salmon is a good idea?
Love salmon, but and take this with a grain of salt. What about a veggie option?
You think?
Yeah, so many people are vegetarians these days. It just may be safer. But don't put too much stock in what I'm saying. You're the one who knows your guests.
That's true, but it's a good point.
Yeah. Oh, I really like these. And it's true. You couldn't say, if they do all have basically the same meaning. So it'd be strange to just be repeating yourself. But
Right.
I think my favorite of all of these is one we used at the beginning of the episode, which is take this for what it's worth. I say that the most often. It means the same thing. Like, take this for what
Mm.
it's worth, but I think there should be a veggie option. Has the same meaning.
Right.
Like, don't put too
Right.
much stock in my opinion, but here's my
Right.
advice.
Right, that's a great one too. Yeah. So, I mean, and again, these are so good for connection. All of these because you're kind of pulling back a little bit. You're saying, you don't have to believe everything I say, but I do want to say my opinion.
Yeah.
So just a really good way of giving advice with kind of being a little safe
Yes.
about it.
Yes, and if we look
Great
at the
for
role
connection.
play, this is done so well when,
Mhm.
I was like, "Love salmon, but" and take this with a grain of salt, what we sort of interrupt ourselves when we feel ourselves about to give an
Yes.
opinion to make
Yeah.
sure that we're saying like, Totally fine with whatever you decide, but I'm gonna give my
Right.
opinion here." This is such a great phrase to soften it a little bit.
Yeah, I love that. And then you said, don't put too much stock in what I'm saying. You are the one who knows your guests.
That
So
one
again,
is kind of a tongue twister. I feel like I sort of tripped over it as well. Don't put too much
don't
stock.
put too much stock in it. Yeah. You said you are the one who knows your guests. So you're giving your opinion, but I may know that all of my friends love salmon
Right.
and that they're not vegetarian. So you're trying to give me some guidance as to what you think is a safer option, but you're saying, but you know best, right?
Yes, and that's really, I think, the biggest connection skill here is that when you give
Mhm.
advice, when you give your opinion,
Mm.
you're creating this possible awkward moment when your friend doesn't go with your opinion, when they decide to do what they were going to do anyway, that when they don't take your advice. And phrases like this take the awkwardness out of this. You're saying,
Very
I
good point.
have no problem. I'm not going to be offended if you don't take my advice.
Yeah, I think that's really the key for this episode. The key takeaway for today,
Yeah.
is to give that person that feeling of, if you don't have to take my advice, keep that
Mhm.
connection going. Another episode that we want to guide you guys to is 2404, which was how mixing up your grammar makes you a better storyteller. So I
Oh,
think
that was a fun one.
you and Lindsay have talked about storytelling a lot. So guys, definitely check that one out. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think we really went into the takeaway already about how this is such a key moment for connection.
Yeah, it's funny. I also want to share, I was just listening to Las Culturistas podcast. Amy Poehler was
Mhm.
a guest, and
Mm.
it was interesting. She said for a year, she made it a goal to never give advice unless someone asked for advice. And that whole year, no one asked her for advice. So she's like, I've been giving all this advice without people asking for it. So
That's
I
so
was
funny.
thinking about that a lot. And I think these phrases really help if you are going to share advice. But I think it's probably a good takeaway for all of us too to think about
Mm.
if we're sharing advice, if we're giving our opinion, is it welcome? Has it been asked for? I think I do that
Mm.
a lot too, where I'm like, here I'm giving my opinion that no one's asked for. I should
Right.
do that less.
That's very interesting,
Yeah,
and now
right.
I'm curious to try it for myself.
Yeah, we'll have to report back, right? If
Yes,
we
yes.
how long is it
We could
before
do a
someone
little
asks for your advice?
Aubrey, we should do that.
Let's do it. I'm in.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. We really appreciate it, and give this a try. Let us know how it goes.
Absolutely. Awesome, Michelle. See you next time.
All right, bye, Aubrey.
Bye.